Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this week's special Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends Plus. Now, obviously, as you can see by the screen, this is something that I wanted to do for the community and get that, again, to kind of just relax people and do that extra show. But I do want to make a small announcement. I was talking with the fine members of the panel, and I had explained to them that doing the four live shows a week has been a little tough on me mentally and, believe it or not, physically. So what I'm going to do is the three main shows on my channel, which is Primetime Gaming on Monday evenings, the Xbox Factor podcast on Thursday afternoons, and of course Friday mornings Breakfast with Boom. Those are all going to remain unchanged, though the Tuesdays show that I've been running for the last, I believe it was 6 weeks, I'm going to kind of scale back a bit to kind of give myself a little bit of a mental break, so to speak. And I will reserve these Tuesdays for special events. If Microsoft announces something big on a Monday, I will do a notification to the community to let you know that I'm going to do a Tuesday show. If something happens on a Tuesday during the week that is so big that can't wait for one of the other shows, I'll try and maybe do an extra show, a 60-minute show on Wednesday. So just want to give you guys and gals that heads up that we're going to go back to 3 shows a week to kind of recharge my batteries, to give me an opportunity to, still maintain, working out and taking care of my household, as well, of course, as actually playing games, something that I actually really enjoy doing. But let's get into the introductions so we can get into the outstanding topics, and topics that are probably going to make some people feel a type of way. And we'll start with Mr. Badbit, who actually is one of those people that might be feeling a type of way. Welcome today to today's show, my friend.
I'm going to start yelling. It's going to be that type of show, man. I'm very passionate. I'm fired up. I'm ready to kind of talk about some of these topics. I'm very angry about one of them in particular. Let's do it.
Well, we're gonna get to it. There's a lot to discuss, and quite frankly, it's a bit of a head scratcher. Next up, you know him as our resident man of the town, chef, who enjoys taking pictures, and he actually made me salivate at 10:30 this morning.
Right?
Yeah, there was a really nice, unbelievable picture where not only can you tune in to hear what he has to say on his outstanding YouTube channel, you can actually tune in for recipes. Welcome, Mr. Zen Game.
Now, I don't share any of my recipes, though. You can't do that. You can't have people stealing your recipes. But I absolutely love cooking. I love taking pictures of them and putting them up on Twitter. That's like my new thing, and it has been for like the last couple of weeks. I'm thoroughly enjoying just cooking and posting pictures. But yeah, super excited to be here. Can't wait to dive into these topics. One particular is kind of sad. It's a little sad that what happened with it, but yeah, I'm just super excited to be here, man.
Well, thank you so much for being here as always. And last and no way least, our resident educator, but also incredible podcaster and community member. Please welcome Incepted Ghost.
It is great to be here. Thank you for having me, Boom. I must tell you, Mr. Babbitt's not exaggerating when he says he's upset. We finished up the Halo 3 campaign last night. We're just doing a little replay, and I got to tell you, man, this is a broken. He was crying. He was asking for his mom. Yep. I had to special FedEx tissues to his house, a little teddy bear, because big baby that man, and I'm worried about my friend. I'm worried about my friend.
Well, look, let's do this. When talking about Sony and their PS4, many in the gaming community will immediately equate to the 110 plus million consoles that have sold through this generation. Sure. Also, at the talking point at this particular table is their outstanding first-party produced games like the incredible Horizon Zero Dawn, Spider-Man, Detroit Become Human, and of course, 2018's Game of the Year, God of War.
It's a fact.
But there is one title that is expected to be the biggest PlayStation title to release since its original. And of course, we're talking about The Last of Us 2. And on Sunday afternoon, everything in PlayStation Nation came to a screeching halt when a disgruntled employee had the gumption, if you will, to leak the entire beginning, middle, and ending of a game that has been in development for over, I think, 4 or 5 years. Now, this was soul-crushing, not only to Naughty Dog as a team, but I think as a community that did not want to have anything spoiled, that were looking forward to this game. And some, now that they know who the, quote-unquote protagonists and antagonists are in this game, may consider not buying it. So I don't necessarily know if this is going to damage. For me, it's not going to stop me from buying the game.
Yeah.
There are a few people that are pretty angry. And of course, thanks to the many content creators and posters on social media, there has been a huge amount of pushback from the community trying to save people from getting, blasted with all of this information. Thankfully, I have stayed away from everything that has the words last, of, us, or the number 2 in it. And I won't go to anything that has Naughty Dog or Naughty in the description, because I don't want to have anything ruined. But a pretty big YouTuber, Twitter member, user by the name of Super Metal Dave had some very interesting and accusatory takes on the particular subject matter. In fact, this is what he had to say. The Last of Us 2 spoilers are reportedly from a disgruntled employee over a payment dispute with Naughty Dog. And I believe that this was including some sort of a bonus that was not paid out. When things didn't go their way, bam, major plot spoilers got leaked. Some really angry and tired and fed up people working at Naughty Dog are the reason this is happening. I think we could see this. We should have seen this coming, sadly. Now, look, I'm going to say this. There are certain moments in any game that are considered special. And there are instances that will happen that will move a gamer in many directions. Some to tears, some to anger, some to fear, some to excitement. But one thing that is, again, soul-crushing for a gamer is to have something as monumental and big as The Last of Us 2 ruined because someone had a... Listen, I'm going to say this right now. There are two sides to this coin. We have to understand that what this leaker did from Naughty Dog, he probably ruined his career for the rest of his life.
Oh, yeah.
He is never going to be hired by another development team that has any credit whatsoever, simply because of the fear of him having a temper tantrum again and leaking everything. On the other side of this coin, there is something going on at Naughty Dog. And I talked about it last night on Primetime Gaming, where if you look at the talent that has come over from Naughty Dog specifically to, of course, Microsoft's initiative and a whole bunch of other developers, it makes you wonder how difficult the crunch culture is going on at Naughty Dog. I mean, are they enslaving their employees? Are they making them work 19-hour days and not paying them? I mean, we know that there was a big article written by Jason Schreier, formerly of Kotaku, that brought this to light. And, there has been a lot of talk that not only are people angry at the guy who leaked this, they're angry at Naughty Dog for creating this monster. Now, I'm going to allow Mr. Badbit to basically take over the show for a few minutes because I want to hear what he has to say, and I want it to be uninterrupted. So, Mr. Badbit,
yeah,
I need you to, in the most proper way possible, talk about why you're mad, why this is devastating to you, and could this have been avoided?
Yeah. So first, I already have one of the things spoiled for me, which is on my fault, because I tried to mute the person that was sending all the stuff, and it was their pinned tweet, and I was just like, all right, well, I was the dumb idiot there. That was me. Yeah, yeah, it was Luke. And so how I view spoilers, they suck. I'd rather go into any piece of entertainment completely blind. Does it ruin my experience if I know a certain character does something or an event that takes place? No. I always think back two really great examples. I watched my first episode of Breaking Bad was the end of season 3, and I was just like, I need to know what happens at the end of this. Like, I need to know what got us to this point right here. And then I watched, and it's my favorite show of all time. Another one is The Walking Dead, Telltale's The Walking Dead. I know what happens at season 1. I think it's like pretty much commonplace at this point in time. Didn't affect me one bit. The ending is still one of the most impactful endings. What spoilers do is they change the perspective, and they do ruin the element of surprise. And it actually kind of messes with my anxiety a little bit more, because I'm like, okay, are we getting to this point right here where something's going to go crazy? So spoilers, they just change perspective. Again, like I just beat Final Fantasy VII. I've been knowing how that game ends for a very, very long time. So with that said, spoilers, they're not the end of the world. Still getting this game day one. The thing that hurts me, that is the sinking feeling that gets me really bummed out, is knowing that I feel like it would have been better if this person was just some random D-bag, right? It hurts, especially knowing that it was someone within the studio itself that knew that what they were about to do was going to hurt hundreds of people that they worked with, and they did it anyway. That is a tell Cersei it's me moment if I've ever seen one. So right then and there, that's the thing that stings. And I hope this person cannot find a job in any of the fields. Like, that they can't just escape to the tech field and be fine, right? Like many game devs do, because they get burned out so bad. I seriously hope they never find a career worth what they had in the gaming field, because that is just despicable what they did. It is. Well,
I'm going to say this. I'll just jump in for a second.
Go for it.
And say this. I'm not a developer.
No.
But I am a human being.
Yep.
And I understand that sometimes with a particular company in any field you're in, whether it's a New York City police officer like I did for 21 years, or someone in advertising like you, or in marketing, no matter what job you are going to be in, there's always a potential for a pay dispute to some extent. Okay. There's also a responsibility to your peers.
Yep.
And I think the most despicable thing here isn't so much that everything got leaked. That in itself is, this is a subject we're going to probably talk about for the next 30 minutes, and I'm okay with it because people have to get it off their chest, right?
Yeah.
But the issue at hand here is the disrespect and the selfishness of one person, where they literally spit in the face of all of their peers that have been working on this, because there are
been struggling alongside them.
Yes, you see, that's a great point. So continue your point. I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So again, like, this is a situation where we are putting the blame solely on this one individual, right? But it's also a systematic problem in not just Naughty Dog, but it's everywhere in the gaming industry. It's rampant. And so we have this crunch culture, and probably what I can guesstimate what happened is, since Naughty Dog didn't know when Last of Us was supposed to come out because it was indefinite, that meant bonuses at the end of the year were not guaranteed. That person got so pissed off because they probably wanted to take their bonus and run. And then, probably knowing that they're working on a PS5 port, they're like, I'm not doing any more work until I get my bonus. that probably didn't happen. And again, all assumptions here. And then they were just like, well, I'm working from home. I have all the assets here. F it, I'm out. And that is such a D-bag thing to do. At the same exact time, it does highlight a huge problem about crunch, and it's not in studios that have, you know, failed games like in BioWare's example with Anthem. You know, look, we may have different feelings on Jason Schreier, but we need people like him to highlight situations like these, where like this warning was given in February, where one person's like, I hope this game doesn't do well so that Naughty Dog can take a step back and think about what they're doing to their employees.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Someone actually, I believe it was, who was it that said that? Other Zinc in the chat, who's always here, actually said that. He's asked me, did I read yesterday that other employees from Naughty Dog want the game to fail also? So this is, again, there's a big problem at Naughty Dog, and I don't necessarily know how they're going to fix this PR nightmare, but I am going to tell you that this was a powder keg waiting to explode.
Absolutely.
Okay. The original Jason Schreier, even though, like I said, listen, I am a man, and I will give credit where credit is due. Mm-hmm. And I can, you know, as a professional, wholeheartedly admit that when he does a story, regardless of how he gets his information, he puts it out there, and he has been in front of this crunch culture thing for quite some time. It's probably what got him the job that he's currently working at, his investigative skills. Now, whether or not he's paying people to get the information, I have absolutely no idea. That doesn't take away from the fact that I still think he's a pompous ass, and he speaks down to people, but that's irrelevant.
Yeah. And so, you know, getting back at the topic at hand, it is this situation where like those sentiments echo the same report he did about Anthem, where people were like, we really, really hoped Dragon Age 2 would flop, and we were so disappointed it didn't, because there is, you know, how a lot of games seemingly AAA games kind of get pushed out, is it's kind of like a mess until we get to the final year and or 6 months before, where you can finally start putting puzzle pieces together. And so knowing how chaotic it is, it's also a failure on Naughty Dog as well as Sony's management overall. It's a failure towards Naughty Dog's management for the fact that they did not take their employees' criticisms and take that article into consideration at all. And I think it's telling, because if they did, I don't think this leak would have happened. And at the same exact time, it is a failure on Sony's behalf that they let this crunch culture happen on their watch. And it is a failure on all levels. Again, I get it. I'm the PlayStation guy, but I'm a gamer first. I'm a person before that. And knowing that people are working their asses off, you know, and it's not just at PlayStation, it's everywhere, working dozens of hours a day. You know what I mean? Probably 2 of them.
Yeah, you know what?
Get these games out the door.
Yes.
And then to have someone just leak it out there, or just have it so that they can't see their friends, their family, their kids. It sucks knowing that is the case when it comes to games. And I do applaud the articles that we're beginning to see from people, and the testimonials we're beginning to hear about, you know what, listen, burnout in the video game field is rampant. Most developers don't last 5 years in this industry before leaving to do something else. That is a problem. That is not just at Sony. That is literally everywhere. And I'm hoping that this story, this leak, echoes throughout the entire industry, where Microsoft's sitting down and they're going, okay, guys, what can we do better? Ubisoft's sitting down and going, what are we doing? What can we do better? You know, hopefully Nintendo, which has horrible crunch culture, does it and sits down and goes, okay, how can we do this better. Luke, you were about to come in. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I wanted to stop you before you popped a vessel in your head. A couple points that you brought up that are good, and then a few I want to counter. If you've read Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, I would encourage all in the chat to read that, regardless of your feelings. Again, on Schreier, an investigative journalist and a reporter is important to have in any field because it casts light in places where there are shadows, good or bad, pompous or not. That is an important thing. And he does talk about, and I liked your example bit, about how Dragon Age should have failed. Objectively, the way that
by
game
all
was
rights,
built,
it should have. It absolutely should have, and somehow it didn't.
Exactly. And so there are many in that in that development side that were very frustrated because it gave the stockholders and the higher ups the mindset that, oh, well, this still made money, this still sold well, this did well, we can do it again. And I really also appreciate the point you're making, and you are absolutely correct when you say that people are leaving the industry because of the environment. And I exist in an industry myself as a teacher where lots of people leave in that first 5 years because what is comparatively crunch, we don't call it crunch, but it is crunch to this audience. It's the same thing. That people leave because they are not appreciated. And we've already seen a lot of the ripple effects of higher ups within multiple first and third party studios and publishers acknowledging that this is an issue and working to change it. I know we've heard, of course, on our side, the Microsoft approach has been really scaled down and changing. A lot of their studios were very comfortable switching to work from home because of their setups as it was and their attitudes approaching, which is great. I think Moon Studio served as a good example of that. Mm-hmm. But it is really important and worthwhile to note that employees in any field must feel appreciated for the work that they are doing, even if that is their job, even if it's there, because somebody who is willing to, or somebody that feels appreciated is going to be willing to go the extra mile. And if you have disgruntled approaches or disgruntled employees to that, they're going to peace out and they're going to burn their bridges along the way, and they're going to scorched earth policy on their way. This guy, his career is over. And there's no doubt go through legal ramifications, not to mention blacklisted, of course, but it's a scary prospect to me that we have people trying to equate the two things. Well, it's also Naughty Dog's fault for this. Well, this guy shouldn't have done that because he's hurting people. Those are not two equal frustrations. They are not two two sides of a coin. They are different issues that happen to relate on the chart. Mm-hmm. But there is a culture problem in the industry that I think is already being course corrected. It's just a very slow process because when money is involved and you have to steer people away from making the most money as opposed to a lot of money, you get a frustration there. And so I just wanted to jump in and acknowledge some of those points and kind of cast a different light on it just a bit.
No, and that's a great thing. Yeah, like seeing Microsoft being as open as they are, and also kind of knowing that they have to because they just bought these studios. They don't want to pull an EA where everything's fine for a year and then they start stripping their freedoms away. Mm-hmm. But at the same exact time, I think this is the turning point where businesses, companies are going to look at this situation and what has happened here as, okay, wow, we really got to do something about crunch because we can't have a Last of Us 2 scenario on our hands. And I think, the way Microsoft has tackled it, again, it could change tomorrow. Jason Schreier could come out with something awful about 343 and they're kicking babies or whatever. But until then, it's awesome to hear that Microsoft's doing really great. It's awesome to see indie studios come out and go, yeah, we're not about crunch. The game comes out when it comes out. Seeing Bungie, which has one of the most tumultuous development cycles, seeing them just last year going, yeah, no, we know it's bad and we need to change and we're actively working to change. And it seems like that's happening. That's awesome. Hearing it is one thing, and then seeing it's another, and that's the thing that I'm liking so far. And I'm hoping. Look, Herman Hulst just took over as the worldwide studios head.
Right.
I'm very much. I mean, and you will. I no doubt Sony is doing this right now. They're doing an after damage report right? Assessing the situation, what happened, how they could prevent it again, and then they're going to probably have some type of crunch crackdown, as it were. Hopefully, best case scenario. But for me, I really do see this as a possible canary in the coal mine for things to come,
Yes.
and hopefully the warning sign for all these AAA studios that do it. And again, that's why we see so many, and oftentimes is the case. Every week, we heard guy or gal from Studio B is going to Studio C to make a game here. It's because usually they get their check, their job is maybe redundant, or they've crunched enough where they took their check and now they want to go and do something different, or just maybe even leave the games industry in general, or make that indie game that they actually want to make.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these AAA games, to a lot of people out there, is the thing that they cut their teeth on, and then they skedaddle and they make a studio because they have the idea their own, and they chase it. So again, this whole situation sucks. The person who did that sucks. Naughty Dog's management sucks. Mm-hmm. The way Sony has handled crunch seemingly sucks. And what the biggest question mark for me now is, how does Sony, there are so many fires right now for the PR team to take control of, or to try to handle. How are they, like, you can't, the way that they've handled the Last of Us PR is probably the best case scenario for, like, here it is, it's coming out, it's not going to be the thing we wanted, please don't look online. But at the same exact time, we don't want to tell everybody, hey, it's leaked, because then people are curiosity are going to take over, and then the game's going to get spoiled for people, for even more people. So the way that they've gone about it is not the best. It is the best that they can do, though, at the very point in time. Because my question going further as well is, like, how does this affect how they roll out the PS5 in terms of, like, are they going to enable chat in, like, the YouTube Premiere or Twitch or whatever the case may be? You're already seeing them moderate their Twitter posts now, because a lot of the first comments are leaks. And gang, again, don't be that person. You're not funny. You're not cool. You just look like a miserable.
There's a lot to catch up on here. First of all, let me just catch up on the super chats, because
I'm sorry, that was a very long rant.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. First of all, the Board Game Renegade drops an outstanding $2 super chat, says, hyped about Streets of Rage 4 this week. Yes, as a matter of fact, we're going to talk about that in a small topic about 3 big games releasing this week. Tempest Son, he's funny. He drops a $5 super chat and says this: The Last of Us 2 spoiler. Psych. Have a good show, my dudes. Let's see. Bruno Carvalho drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says this: should always blame the system, not the people. They are the consequence of a system where they lost empathy for each other. Environment drives actions. Oh, that's a really strong point, dude. Now here, Face 23 BKNY, he drops a $5 super chat, asks this: has this been confirmed that The Last of Us 2 leak was by a dev, or is this assumptions? No, my friend. This has been absolutely 1000% confirmed. This isn't a console war thing. This is a reality thing. And unfortunately, this is another black eye for Sony. On top of everything that's already happened to them, this is a horrible look for Naughty Dog. This is a horrible look for PlayStation. This is a horrible look for Sony. There's no denying it. And
if I could just jump on that and just say, and this is the black eye that matters. All the little, like, things like the road to PS5, that is so small peanuts compared to what has happened here in the last 72 hours. This is the thing that hurts Sony. Just like how, and it will haunt them for years to come. Absolutely. Just like the PSN outage.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And real quick, the last and certainly not least, Nightwolf drops an outstanding and very generous $10 super chat and says this: I don't condone what this guy did, but also wonder why he did it. I believe more than just money and crunch drove to this action that was obviously a deep emotional reaction that he hopefully regrets. Robert Olson comes in strong with an outstanding and very generous $20 super chat and says, "Wrong way to go about change. I would have had a walkout before the leak. All the hard work that people put in." Yeah, that's a great point, Robert. I mean, I think that at the end of the day, again, we have to think about your peers. Now, if you are someone that doesn't like other people, is someone that doesn't get along with other people, there could be some underlying, mental illnesses, issues that are totally off subject. But why he did it, I don't know, and I don't think we'll ever know unless someone interviews this dude and says, "Listen, what you did was wrong, but the people want to hear your side. What happened?" And he goes into some sort of an expose where he starts talking about, how he was treated and mistreated, and how he was working 19-hour days and not getting paid a red cent to do it just to get a game out the door. You know what, Luke? I want to bring you in on the conversation because you did talk a little bit, but I kind of want to get your point of view from your own words. This is a devastating leak. This is devastating, once again, to everything PlayStation. One of the 2020's biggest games. One might even say and admit this could potentially be one of the biggest games released this generation. And to have the beginning, middle, and end completely ruined seems almost impossible, but at the same time, a nightmare that you hope you wake up from. And that's not, in fact, the case. This is a real nightmare. It's done. The word is out there. Unfortunately, it is the interwebs. And the interwebs are packed with assholes, pardon my French. And people are, I got to be honest with you. I understand console wars are important for some people, but you got to look in the mirror and ask yourself, if you are rallying around this as being a win for Microsoft or for Nintendo, I have to say shame on you, because this is a loss. And I think that if you were to interview Bowser at Nintendo, or even Phil Spencer at Microsoft, they would look at you with sadness in their eyes, because they would be devastated if it was them. And I'm sure that as human beings, their heart is broken over this. Nobody wants to see their competitor fail like this. And this is a failure in so many levels. So what are your points and potentially principles regarding this?
Well, without a doubt, none of them want to see the other fail in this particular fashion. When you are a creator and have spent time creating, you understand what it can mean for someone to rob you of the moment of presentation. So there's no doubt in my mind that, as you said, Bowser and Spencer and any others, they're absolutely devastated for Naughty Dog and those that were putting in their blood, sweat, and tears to Naughty Dog. It's awful. And you hope sincerely that it doesn't damage them financially. And in truth, I don't think it would. I think if Halo Infinite's plot points are truly leaked down the line and we see footage, that will not stop the majority of the community from enjoying it. And the truth is, the majority of the community that's going to play Last of Us 2 probably isn't even on the interwebs and seeing this stuff right now. And I'm talking about majorities, not a healthy quantity of people, but majority. And they'll be able to enjoy the game just fine. As Joseph correctly put it early on in the show, you can know the outcome of something and it changes your perspective, but that doesn't inhibit your ability to enjoy it. Knowing that Thanos was going to win and the Avengers were going to prevail in Endgame did not stop me from enjoying those moments as they took
spoilers,
place.
Man.
Oh, dude, my bad. Also, just so you know, Joe, Darth Vader legitimately Luke's dad. Real
what?
Talk.
No, no.
I'm sorry. It had to happen. Yeah.
But why would you tell us that?
Oh man! Oh,
well, his name is Luke. I mean, he I mean,
but the truth is, I think the people that are leaking this on purpose for and getting glee and enjoyment out, they know they're scumbags. They know they're being jerks. They are doing it because they enjoy that. And I and truly, I don't see the majority of the community, at least not in the communities that I participate in, nobody that I know willingly shares those for fun. And if they do, I mute them. I don't even block them because blocking lets them feel like they've had an effect. Just mute them. And I move on with my life.
And they'll never know. Yes.
Yeah.
I love muting people. I'm not a big blocker myself because, again, it's just one of those things. I don't want to say I feel guilty because if you are an a-hole, zero problems blocking you. It's just something I don't like to do.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. But I mean, listen, my question to you, and I think you might have touched on this for a second, is this. We know that the game is going to sell well. Even with these horrendous leaks, it's going to sell. It is the biggest PlayStation 4 game to release. It is obviously releasing in a shroud of controversy, which is not good. My question to you, more so than anything, is how does Sony handle this situation with Naughty Dog moving forward? Because again, remember, this isn't a second party team. This isn't a third party that has been contracted to kind of work with Sony on put something out exclusively. This is under their banner of SIE. And this is going to send shockwaves through the entire industry, but more so through all of Sony's. I believe they have 15 first party studios. How do they recover from this?
That's a really good question that I'm stealing from Luke. It's kind of like if you learned it's like if you worked at Disney or you learned that like at Pixar, right? Like the heads are kicking kittens every Tuesday and making employees watch. Like that's how bad this is for me.
Joe.
Yeah, just kicking them every single Tuesday. They're like, bring me the latest kittens. Anyway, but no, this is one of the most premier devs out there, and I'm curious on how they approach it on the PR lens of how do they advertise this game so close to now its release, while at the same time having to show everybody the PS5 in June. And then on the same front, I think how they handle this is, again, this is a report that they're going to have to do internally. They probably have analysts and going in and figuring out what happened, giving the report over to the board, and then Herman Hulst probably and Jim Ryan coming to terms of how to fix their crunch culture at Naughty Dog. But it's apparent, and it's not an overnight fix, sadly.
No,
as much of us like it, but I'll shoot that over to Luke because I'm sorry, I'm just passionate and angry.
You nailed it. I mean, I would support that. That was my answer, everyone. I just want you to know. Also, I would imagine you get a few. HR is probably going to be involved on every level now. They're probably going to be going and doing, virtual visits, discussing, telling bosses to segregate. We care about you. Please don't do this to yourself. Please don't do that. And none of that will matter one bit if they don't approach their deadlines and the amount of work they're giving each employee with respect. And that's something that I really liked about Phil Spencer's messaging a few weeks ago. He said, will you delay the Series X so that Halo Infinite can be ready on time? He's like, no, we're not going to delay something for one system or another. It'll come out when it comes out. People need to be safe. People need to be smart. I think you're going to see a lot of that corporate speak, and HR will be involved at every level. So my answer was Joe's. I told him all that. That was
nice. Nice. Well, I mean, look, I agree with you. I think that HR is going to play a major part. I think that what's going to happen is it's going to start at Naughty Dog, and there is going to be a reworking or retelling on how things are done throughout SIE moving forward, because this can never happen again. This is something. It's a scary disposition to think that one person could logistically destroy 5 years of work in a couple of posts. And being that the world is what it is, people. I'm not saying that he's wrong for what he did, and I'm interested to know what pushed him, because this has a lot. Okay, look, I was a youth officer for over 15 years in the NYPD, right? I loved working with kids. I got involved in ways that most cops don't. I would go to parent-teacher meetings. I would go into after-school programs to help out. I'd play basketball with the kids on a regular basis. I'd come in after work. and help out the other youth officers that had other programs. And it was my way of giving back, because I grew up in that neighborhood, so I had a chance to police the neighborhood I grew up, so it was a big deal for me. That's why I did the extra. But this has a lot of traits of bullying, and I understand it's a bit of a stretch, but hear me out. When you have a bullying situation in this world, more times than not, the aggressor very rarely gets looked at as in fact the aggressor. And when the victim finally lashes out and does something, and let's say devastates, causes some sort of a devastating injury to the aggressor, who has been berating the victim for X amount of months, X amount of years, it's immediately roles reversed, and the victim becomes the perp. And you're like, well, how dare you do this to my son? But no one was saying anything when your son was berating the victim. And this is a situation where there could have been a lot of that going on. Like I said, right now, this guy seems to be the bad guy because he leaked all this information. There is another side to this story. Now, I don't know when and how and who is going to bring that to us. But I'm interested to know what buttons pushed, what to the edge of madness was there for this guy to do this. Because you got to understand, he did this and he understands that his career as a developer is gone. It is over. He is leaving the business, never to return. Not in 2 years, not in 5 years, not in 10 years. This is going to stay with him forever. This is the worst sin I think you could do as a game developer, and I don't think anyone would trust him. But I want to bring in Zemi. Zemi, listen, dude, you obviously have been doing this for quite some time. In regards to creating content, and you've kept your ear to the you've been very helpful with a lot of the stuff you do on your YouTube channel, and you know what it is working with others, and you understand that that's important. Having a working relationship with others is what makes you as a creator succeed. I think it makes us all succeed. After hearing this, how devastated are you as a content creator to know that someone could leak all of this information and literally ruin almost 5 years of development in a couple of posts?
I mean, it's definitely worrying, and just to kind of be a little bit selfish for myself, I love The Last of Us 1. I want to buy, a PlayStation 4 right now. I want to go out and spend $300 so I can play Last of Us 2 whenever it, immediately drops. It's one of those games that I've been looking forward to ever since I played the last one. Right. And so, just once again, being a little bit selfish, I am a content creator. I read, the majority of the comments that are, put on my channel. And, just to think that, just as content creators, we, could go out and just be reading a comment, trying to interact with our community and have, the entire game that we've been waiting for the last 4 years completely, spoiled for us. I mean, it's, it's kind of depressing. It's kind of sad. Right. Mm-hmm. And, we you guys have kind of been, talking, all over the topic, right? And you guys, have been mentioning, the individual that actually leaked this. And, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really know how much I'm really going to hate that guy or blame that guy or anything like that. Because I think like the easy thing for a lot of people online right now would be, whoever leaked this is a terrible person, they're evil or whatever you want to call them. But, I think it's really important to remember that, what he did was not rational in any sense, right? Him leaking out, what him and his coworkers have spent the last 4 or 5 years working on, that's not rational, because what he stands to lose is so much more than what he's standing to gain, right? I mean, really, what's he standing to gain? They already told him that he's not going to get the money, so he's not going to get the money, right? So, what he's standing to gain revenge, but what is he possibly losing? Well, he's going to get sued for a lot of money. He's going to be blacklisted. He's never going to be able to work in the video game industry ever again, which was probably a huge dream of his, right? And then, God forbid his information get, leaked out there. Then he's, we know how people online are. So the amount of threats and the amount of violence that he's going to get slung at him. I mean, what he did is not rational. So what made this man do this is beyond my understanding. But we know that it was financial. We know that there are a lot of people that are having a very tough time with the current climate in the world today. I can't even imagine, what this, individual was going through to be backed up into a corner and to thinking that this was, a good idea, or this was his option of how he was going to get back, or whatever it may be. So, I'm definitely not going to, to sling mud at this guy or to blame him or anything like that. It's just a terribly sad situation. And there are a lot of, I guess, parties that can be blamed, whether it, be Sony for not cracking down on their developers and trying to make their workplaces, better, whether it be Naughty Dog for, for actually having these policies and having these practices, or, whatever it may be, it's the blame game, right? We could be here for the next 5 hours talking about who we should blame next. Right. But I think what is the most sad part about this is just all the people that are going to be hurt from this, whether it be the fans who have been looking forward to playing this game forever. Because, I understand, like, spoilers, you can still enjoy the game, but even still, all of those really shocking moments, all those, moments that we didn't see coming are now, we're going to see coming, right? So it's going to have less of an impact than it would have before. But then also, all of the people that have been working on this game, all of his coworkers, it's going to hurt them because they've spent the last 4 years pouring their sweat and blood and tears into this game. And now to have, it not have that same impact at hitting the fans as what it once was. I mean, it's just, it's a terribly sad situation. And I think really the only way of fixing this and hopefully making it where this will never happen again is if, Naughty Dog and if Sony and if all developers change their policies, maybe, whatever it may be, change their policies, have human resources, crack the whip, or possibly looking into implementing, workers' unions. But it's definitely a very terrible situation. It's very sad. I'm very worried, and I know a ton of people are very worried about having this spoiled for them, because I do not do good with spoilers. If anyone spoils this, I'm gonna never talk to you ever again.
Just if I could just say, I like your rational response to this. I will reply with, if I see this person in public, I'm gonna kick him in the shins, real hard. Yeah.
Who you gonna kick in the shins?
The person who leaked this. I'm gonna kick him in the shins.
See, I wouldn't do that, man. I mean, once again, you don't know what he went through. You don't,
I know enough.
Yeah,
and
but
I know shins get kicked in the shin. That hurts.
I mean, you really don't know. I mean, it could have been something terrible that this guy was going through. I mean,
you know what? Let me catch up on the. Let me catch up on some of the super chats, because there's a specific one that mentions exactly what happened. First of all, Mocha Smiley drops a $3 super chat and says the MSFT reward points can now do mixer subs. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Brian Ingram drops an outstanding $10 super chat, says, guys, I completely understand why he did it. I was owed $17,000 bonus and didn't receive it, though I would not have gone about it the same way. The leak ruined it, basically ruined it for him. That's what he's saying. Eagles fan 76 drops a $5 super chat and says this: people make fun of the Xbox funding passion projects for their devs. What do you think it does for their souls versus the crunch and Xbox picking up some of these devs? I mean, listen, folks, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know what's going on behind the scenes, but I am going to tell you that there's a reason why Microsoft is getting so much talent from the Sony first parties, more specifically recently, both the God of War developer and, of course, now Naughty Dog, because there's something going on there that's more nefarious than we know of. Now, real quick, Face 23 BKNY. He drops a $5 super chat. Thank you for your generosity. And his comment is understandable. He says this: The biggest Sony mess up was the PlayStation 3 hack. They bounced back from that. They can overcome the situation. No need to portray this as a doom Armageddon or doom and gloom, I think he meant to say. Well, look, I'll say this. I agree with you. I think they can come back from this. But let's not try and downplay this like this is a drop in a bucket. You understand what I'm saying? This is a big deal. Now, if you want to chalk it off as, well, not that big of a deal, you're entitled to your opinion. And
I think what he's trying to say is that this situation, it's not like it's a drop in the bucket, but it isn't as devastating as the PlayStation the PSN hack. And I do think this is an opportunity for Sony to grow and to show us that they're growing and you know, growing with the times.
I think where it's the worst for Sony is not that it happened, but it happened at this time when it's the worst time for it to happen. Where Sony is currently perceived to being at its weakest, now it happens. Yes. Whereas if this would have happened 3 years ago, it would have not, brush it off the shoulders, right? It wouldn't have been that huge of a thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, again,
I don't think it would have been brushed off, but I don't think it would be. I don't know. Brush off is the word I'd use. I think it would be taken serious, but at this point where we know so little about, PlayStation and how the lack of talking to the community the way that the Xbox and Nintendo folks have, that's the thing that is hurting them. And I hope they realize that that's hurting them. We don't have a voice to Sony anymore. We now have a logo. And that makes it so that it's kind of separating the personal element that you get out of Xbox, you get out of Nintendo. Because when you see Phil on stage, you honestly believe he's doing the best he can because you hear him say that. It's not a press release. When you see the head of the Indies. I was gonna say David Baker, but he's with Microsoft now. Anyway, when you see him talking about indies, you believe what's that?
Charla, is that who you're speaking of?
Yes, you believe that what he's saying is true. That they're going for indies, that they want to support these smaller developers. And again, like why people are leaving studios is literally the same reason I stated before. It's not so much one of the contributing factors is crunch, but it's also the fact that this is the industry now. People leaving Studio A for Studio B, like I don't even perceive it as news. It's just it's the thing. Because at the end of the day, all these companies, no matter who leaves or who joins, they all have a set culture in front of them. It's kind of like when Steve Jobs passed, Apple still retains the forward-thinking or what they perceive forward-thinking nature that they have. Same with Microsoft. They all have their different cultures, but these board members leave every other year. Yeah. Like it's so interchangeable. The only people that will change from the development side of things are literally the management. If the management leaves, that's when you actually see culture changing. When you see the head of animation leave, it's not the biggest deal in the world. When you see the head of their management, the people behind the books, that's where you're going to see it's like maybe Neil leaving Naughty Dog would be a sign, or like a Cory Barlog, but it's really the people that institute the culture there at those companies. So that's a really long drawn out answer.
Well, look, let me just say this again. We're closing in on an hour on this topic. I expected it, and there was a lot of emotions behind the topic. A lot of emotions with the people in the chat. We have almost 350 people here live. And I want to thank everybody for coming out and listening to this. It has been again, a lot of steeps, slopes and valleys, so to speak, with this particular topic, because right now, I think Zemi really hit it on the head. Right now, for this to happen to Sony at their weakest, and that's what they seem to be right now, in complete disarray, it just makes things worse. And this is remember, they have to recover from this on the fact that we already know they're not going to have enough systems at launch, and that they're going to be using the PlayStation 4 to back end the fact that they just don't have enough systems ready, or could potentially be ready. So there's a lot going on here, and this does not help the situation. Again, I'm interested to know. I hope someone interviews this guy. It wouldn't surprise me in the least if it's not Jason Schreier. Because obviously he's probably already reached out to him and said, listen, we can pay you X amount of dollars now that he's working wherever he's working for this exclusive interview. And it's going to be, I'm going to read that interview. I want to know what caused him to do this, because again, this is not just a disrespect to Naughty Dog, because obviously that's their employer, and if they have odds, they're at odds with each other, they don't care. Neither party cares. But this is at the end of the day something that he has to live with, that he did to all of his fellow employees that are also, like you said, right by his side dealing with the same thing, and they didn't do that. So it's going to be a very interesting story. So I want to move on to the second topic. It's probably going to be the last topic, because we're only doing a 90-minute show today. Mrs. Boomstick is home ill, and I have to make sure that I take care of her. So we're going to go for another 30-something minutes, and we'll wrap it up. And we'll close out with a very strong topic. But let me just catch up on some of the super chats. WR Cup Z86 drops an outstanding $2 super chat, and he says, glad you're finally on the Animal Crossings trains. Yes, I actually finally got there, thanks to
you got on board?
I got on board because there was a lovely fan of the show who bought me a copy. Yeah, I mean, that was really amazing of him. Let me just you know what?
Now we know why the shows are shorter and there's less of them.
Typhoon 7 of Twitter reached out to me, and he said, hey, listen, Boom, I kind of want to do something for you, because you've been giving back to the community with so many shows. And of course I immediately said, no, you don't have to do anything. Listening is enough. I want people to understand that the generosity that they show, every dollar that is donated to Double Barrel Gaming, is extremely humbling, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. So this amazing human beings, during a pandemic where money is questionable, folks, said, hey, check your DM, I'm going to send you something. And lo and behold, it was Animal Crossings for the Nintendo Switch, which I've been playing. I'm 2 hours in, and right now I have a closed eye because I got stung with bees because I was shaking a tree. And I don't know how to fix myself, so I'm working.
Yeah, get medicine. Yeah, get Timmy and Tommy will hook you up.
Okay, those guys are the mafia, by the way.
Oh yeah, they're definitely mafia. So.
Okay, so let me see. Let me just make sure I get everybody, because I don't want to miss any super chats. And Zemi, thankfully, is my backup, so that doesn't happen. Okay, let's see. Bruno Carvalho drops another $5 super chat, and he says this: grow up. It's just a game leak. Problem is, who saw it didn't like the plot. Many people got spoiled in Avengers, but it didn't generate this rage. Yeah, you know what, dude? I mean, listen, I appreciate the super chat and I appreciate the comment, but I have to say, there's a difference in learning that one particular part in a film gets spoiled. It sucks. It sucks. But at the same time, this wasn't just one particular part. This was the entire game. And people who look to gaming as a solace, right, who appreciate the stories being told, wanted to learn all of these things for themselves. Now, granted, I do admit, if something said the word leak and it was a game or film or book or whatever that you were interested in, I go to the left, and I keep going to the left until I don't see the word leak anymore. Now, people could have been, bedazzled or fooled or bamboozled, if you will, into clicking on something and everything just popped up and they were destroyed. I don't know. But I know that I haven't seen anything because I'm not looking. And I hope that I can last for the next 6 weeks, so that when I play the game, I can discover everything on my own. And real quick, let me just catch up with this. Face 23 BKNY drops an additional $5 super chat. Thank you for your generosity. He says, when it comes to Xbox, they're rushing to get out of this gen and start the next gen. That's why they are providing so much info. PlayStation is in a different spot. I mean, PlayStation is in a different spot because they have two massive games being released, and now one is ruined. So look, it's a bad situation. I don't know how you can make it better. There's no time travel. This isn't the Avengers, so we can't fix what happened. It is what it is. And I think that the reason why Microsoft is as transparent as they are is because they learned from their mistakes. And they are trying to fix that, and everything that they're doing seems to be working. I really don't want to see this turned somehow be focused onto Microsoft trying to get out of the generation, and that's why they've been so transparent. No, I think that they understand that they failed in this generation, and they want to make sure they start the next generation on the right foot, and I think that they're doing that. And last but not least, the Living Flame drops an outstanding and another additional $2 super chat and says, hope Mrs. Boomstick is okay, bud. Yeah, take it easy. She has a massive migraine, and she's been throwing up all morning because of it. So right now she's sleeping, and hopefully when she gets up, her headache is gone. But let's move on to the last topic so I can, we can keep this train rolling. As we get closer to May and June, which are have already been labeled as the Xbox digital events, the more my hype meter continues to move past 10. Now, last week, there was a salvo of Halo Infinite news, Fable news, and a whole bunch of other Xbox goodness. And of course, the entire internet was on fire, and for good reason. Now it looks like a new challenger has entered the ring and is looking for attention. And that's right, our very good friend and Xbox industry insider known as Clobriel has once again dropped what appears to be a news bomb in the form of some perfect dark information and its lead protagonist, Joanna Dark. And here's what he had to say on Twitter. The announced project at the initiative runs on Unreal Engine 4 and features various weapons, gadgets, and camera surveillance systems. This makes sense given most of the Xbox game studios work with the same engine to share tech and knowledge. Now, I've been hearing for months, and I think we can all agree, we've been hearing for months, that the AAA studio known as The Initiative, run by studio head Daryl Gallagher, has been working on something big. And to be honest, it has had the Xbox community's eyes on this studio ever since Phil Spencer stopped by and took the time to say this. Great update today with Daryl Gallagher, LA _LA at Matt Booty as well, and the team at The Initiative. Incredibly talented studio challenging themselves to do new things and old things in new ways. Now, everyone knows that Daryl Gallagher rebooted the Tomb Raider IP along with Lara Croft, and the trilogy he and the very talented team at Crystal Dynamics crafted were nothing short of outstanding. And you know what? At the time, a lot of people thought that the Tomb Raider series or franchise was dead. And in fact, it was. And he brought it back in a big way. Now, in the last few days, there have been many opinions of if it should be a Perfect Dark reboot or a new IP. And you know what? I not only challenge that notion, I laugh at it. Perfect Dark 1 saw its first existence on the N64, and it was released on May 22nd, 2000. And the second one, and the only other release of this franchise, was a launch title for the Xbox 360 and was released 5 years later on November 17th, 2005. Now, it has been 20 and 15 years between both games where concerning Perfect Dark, and in here, and this is where it gets a little silly. There are people in the community calling for this not to be a reboot because it's an old IP and we want new. You know what I find funny? What I find almost laughable? there are a huge amount of people, not only in this chat, but on social media that weren't even effing alive when these games were released. So what the hell are you talking about? Okay, and again, let's look at what they are, allegedly doing. This is going to be on the level of a Splinter Cell game in third person. It's going to be adult themed. It's going to have a very strong story and narrative, completely removing it from what we hear, what Perfect Dark was. Now, again, me personally, I'm cheering this on because I grew up with Perfect Dark. I played through both games, and I, quite in fact, enjoyed them. But coming at this from this angle, where it's going to be a third person perspective, where you're using gadgets, where it's going to be, you got to understand, when this game comes out, whenever it comes out, it's going to fill a void that this entire 7-year generation has yet to be filled, and that's the spy genre. No Splinter Cell this entire generation. I think there's something wrong with that, and I don't know when we're going to get a Splinter Cell. So Zemi, I want to come to you first on this. First of all, what are your thoughts? I mean, I want to get there's two opinions I'm interested to know about. One is with Matt Booty and Phil Spencer leading the charge on bringing the adult themed, story driven IPs that we all want, and knowing that that Gallagher himself, who was responsible for bringing back the Tomb Raider franchise in a big way, do you think that is a plus to bring Joanna Dark back from a 15 and 20 year slumber? But more importantly, do you consider this an old IP, or do you consider it a new IP because it's going to be a totally different game?
Well, I guess to start off, I really actually like the idea that the head guy over Tomb Raider back in the day is overseeing, or potentially overseeing Joanna Dark. I really like that because, strong female character. He knows how to, how to work with that. And he did an excellent job on the Tomb Raider, or on the new Tomb Raider trilogy, which is absolutely just fantastic. So, I really like the idea of them having the right people, at the right time to make this game. Right. And then, whether it's an old game, new game, I mean, it's definitely an older game. I mean, but with that being said, that shouldn't be a reason to shy away from this game. I mean, because, let's just be realistic about this. Majority of people have not played the Perfect Dark games. Majority of people haven't. I think back in the day, I think the second one sold around 1 million copies, which,
yes,
in all fairness, back then, that was good. That was good. But, realistically, not that many people have played it. It's going to be a brand new IP for a lot of people. They're going to redo it. They're going to put, a fresh coat of paint on there, like they said, doing old things in new ways, doing new things and then doing old things in new ways. So, it's not like it's going to be, like almost like a remaster, like they're, like they're remastering it. They're going to upgrade the graphics a little bit or something. They're doing a full reboot of this IP is what it sounds like, right?
Yes.
So for me personally, I'm perfectly happy with them doing, Perfect Dark. If that's what the initiative is doing, then I'm perfectly happy with that, because I haven't played any of the Perfect Dark games like millions of other gamers out there, and I would love to jump into this franchise. Like, the spy genre has always been a huge I've always been a fan of that. Like, you hear me talking all the time how I would love for Obsidian to do another Alpha Protocol like spy RPG. I would absolutely love that. And we haven't seen a Splinter Cell game in forever. But more importantly, the Xbox, lineup of games has nothing like this. And I think that's the most important thing to realize as well, is with Game Pass, with what Xbox is doing, variety is key. We've seen that, with them adopting and bringing in more role-playing games, more over-the-shoulder games, more dark and gringy games. But we haven't seen a game that's in the spy genre yet, and so this game would fill that void perfectly well. And yeah, I mean, I think honestly, it is a fantastic game to go with. I don't have any problem with it. I do understand some people's disappointment, with this being an older IP and them, them wanting something brand new. But I think whenever this game comes out, it's pretty much going to be an old game done completely, brand new.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, there are a lot of people. As a matter of fact, you know what? Let me read this. There's 2 super chats. First of all, Aiden William drops an outstanding $10 super chat and says this: "What's up, brother? Hope you're doing well and keep the awesome work. Love listening to the shows while gaming. I'm playing Arkham City right now. It's been a few years since I played it, and it's still fire. And I love going back to old games that I really enjoyed. And here's a perfect example of what exactly you were just saying. JD drops an outstanding $10 super chat. JD, thank you for your generosity and, of course, being here. He says this: "I didn't even know Perfect Dark was a game until I heard about it here on this show. After finding a copy of it and playing, I'm all on board for a reboot, for it to be rebooted. Love the show. Keep up the good work, Boom." Thank you so much, dude. Super appreciate that. Pixel Bit G, thank you for being here, dude. He drops a $2 super chat and says this: "Facts, Booms, facts. Give me a sexy third-person Joanna." Listen, no, continue.
Well, I just wanted to add just one little bit more in, and then I'm probably
take all the time you want. It's okay.
But a great example of what Xbox is doing here, if they are in fact working with the Perfect Dark franchise for the initiative, many years ago. I think it was like 2007, 2008. I think it actually released. Bethesda, they got the license to make Fallout games, and before that, it was a top-down, very turn-based role-playing game, and it was a fantastic game. But they completely redid it. They kept the atmosphere of what Fallout was, but they made it, a first-person / third-person, RPG with excellent dialogue and everything like that. They completely redid, the Fallout IP, the franchise, and it was done fantastically. And so many people never played any of the previous games, myself included. I had no idea, that the game ever existed before then. So, with them bringing, life into these old franchises, I mean, it does 2 different things. It allows the old school fans who have played, the older Fallout games or the older Perfect Dark games, it gives them a chance to revisit a franchise that they loved and adored before. But then it also gives people like me and the millions of other gamers that have never played Perfect Dark and never played, Fallout before, Bethesda got their hands on it. It gives us a chance to revisit it in a new way that, previously I would have probably never went back and played Fallout 1 or Fallout 2, but I played Fallout 3 because it was a new game.
Yes. New perspective, new ideology.
New perspective, yes. Absolutely. So, just using what Bethesda did, what was it, like 12 years ago? Getting a hold of getting a hold of an old franchise and redoing it, I just kind of, see how that kind of collates with what, the initiative could possibly be doing. And that just gets me even more excited.
No, I absolutely agree. And, real quick, Duncan Self, he says something that seems a little trolly, if you ask me, but I'll read it anyway. He says, "Why would you reboot a one-off N64 game, especially when Xbox really needs new IP? Bizarre." Well, here's the thing, dude. First of all, there was 2 games, not just a one-off, because Perfect Dark was released on the 360, like I said in the opening. Secondly, my question to you is, then why reboot God of War? Why make God of War different?
why
it's a rare game
Fallout?
Too.
Yeah. So that's my point. So listen,
can I just say this?
No. Take it. You know what? Go crazy, Mr. Bad Bit.
You can say it. Say it, Joe. Say it.
Because I'm gonna be real. I'm sorry, whoever put that question in, but it's bad. If you have a story to tell that story with whatever characters, whatever IP you want. If it's a good story, then nobody's going to care if it's a new IP or if it's a retelling. Like I've played a Perfect Dark 1. I liked Perfect Dark 1. I love the Perfect Dark on 360. It was a great game to me. I have no qualms with it. I had so much fun playing that as a kid with my brother, right? If there's another Perfect Dark game, then there's another in the worst case scenario, it's bad and they don't make another Perfect Dark game. Or it's really great. It's a fantastic addition to the Xbox lineup. It gives you a very diverse portfolio that people are begging for Xbox to do, because it's kind of seems like people that complain want their cake and eat it too. They don't want Gears, Halo, or Forza, but then when they try to do something different with an older IP that they own, people freak out. So which one do you want? Do you want another Halo spinoff? Do you want something possibly different? Perfect Dark gets me excited because it's the story that this person wanted to tell. And guess what? Unfortunately, the sales figure of the last Tomb Raider weren't great, but like Tomb Raider as a series genuinely loved this generation. And if we get another strong female lead, that's awesome. That's fantastic. Then I want more girls to have that Ray moment. What's up?
Well, I say we saw one of the things. I think Duncan's trolling, but whatever. But one of the interesting things in this is like, well, why not chase new IP? That's not something that Microsoft ignored this generation. It's just that they put a lot of money into several IP that didn't pan out. Sunset Overdrive and Quantum Break both jump into my mind. Yeah. Those were new IP. Bleeding, maybe. But that was a half finished project that they allowed to go through for the benefit of allowing a fulfilled vision.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and it's all about variety too. They have new IPs coming out.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're working with new IPs.
To me, it's hypocritical and it's really annoying to me how people will be like, I want a new Banjo game, but then all of a sudden they're like, okay, how about maybe, who knows, that character model looks dope as all hell. Okay, here's Perfect Dark. It seems like people are begging for people to for Microsoft to dive into the rare IP, and then once we hear rumors that they're doing it, all of a sudden this is bad. All of a sudden this is lazy. One of the
most truthful things we've ever heard in the industry came from Yves Guillemot from Ubisoft, and he was talking about Assassin's Creed, which has had 418 games to date, and some of them have been pretty good. And so he was saying, we'll keep making them if people keep buying them, and if they don't, we won't. You know what? People started. They slowed down on their sales of Assassin's Creed. Okay, stop, retool, reinvigorate, reimagine. They came out with Odyssey and Origins. They came out with the 2D games that didn't really do. That's what businesses do. Whether it's a new IP, has the brand of new IP. If it's a new story to tell, as you said, and the game is good, you're fine. If the game is good, so I think that's the part we have to remember. It's a business, and they're trying to make money, and we get experiences because of it.
The more worrying thing is when Microsoft keeps on saying this is a quadruple A studio, because I'm like, we're getting, you're building an expectation that who knows? I hope this is, again, more female leads, badass, awesome, I'm for it. But you're building up this expectation that will not reach into some people's minds. That's the thing that fears.
We have to say, listen, gentlemen, I don't mean to cut this short, but I actually, Mrs. Boomstick isn't doing well, and I got to get
no problem.
I got to get on the home with the doctor. But listen, I want to just say, listen, we almost hit an hour and a half. Yeah. Sorry for the shortcut of the program. Normally we go hour and a half, 2 hours, but family first. I'm always a family first kind of a guy. So listen, let's get to the outros, and we'll get everyone on out of here, and I'll get to taking care of Mrs. Boomstick. So we'll start with Zemi. Zemi Games, do me a favor, brother. Tell everyone where they can follow you. More importantly, check out some of your masterful works of chefism and where they can check out your YouTube channel.
Absolutely. If you guys want to, definitely check me out on YouTube. It's called Zimmy Games. I do a bunch of gaming content, gaming news, reviews, tutorials, all sorts of just gaming content. So definitely check me out on YouTube. Once again, it's called Zimmy Games. You guys can also follow me on Twitter at Zimmy Games. My DMs are always open. I always just love for any community members out there to send me messages, ask me, questions. Maybe you heard something on today's show that you liked, maybe you didn't like. Always feel free to send me a message. I love talking to community members about that. And then also, I've been posting a lot of food pictures recently on my Twitter. So if you like to get hungry and, look at food whenever you have none to eat, definitely check me out on Twitter for that as well. Thank you so much, Boom.
No problem, brother. And Mr. Badbit, listen, you have actually a fantastic show known as the Trophy Room, and I'm interested for you to tell everyone where they can check that out, and more importantly, check you out on some of the programs that you're on, as well as your YouTube channel.
Man, oh man. So listen, you got another side of me today, everyone. You really got the bad end bit in this one.
That's okay, dude. Listen, you're a passionate gamer. Nothing wrong with that, dude.
I'm an angry one. So yeah, no, you can find me over at Bad Bit Games, where we talk about all things games, news, reviews, and unboxings. You can find also the Trophy Room video version on there every Thursday, as well as on iTunes and on Spotify. That's a podcast all about the latest and greatest in all things PlayStation. Again, every Thursday with me and my best friend Kyle. We just did I think it was like an hour and 40-minute just spoiler talk on Final Fantasy VII. That's going to be out for free on patreon.com/badbit. And yeah, also just shout out to everybody giving me all the positive feedback this past week.
Yes.
It was fantastic. It was incredibly humbling. I don't deserve it, but I'll try my best to work.
Now you do. You definitely do.
So, yeah, everybody, keep playing games regardless of the platform you prefer. Be better to each other. Don't spoil anything. Wash your goddamn hands.
Yeah, yes, wash your hands. And last but not least, Luke, I got to tell you, dude, having you on this program each and every week has been fantastic. Love the energy and knowledge you bring to each show. Tell everyone where they can check out your amazing Xbox podcast.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Please listen to the Xbox Expansion Pass. This past week, I argued for the death of Games with Gold. I think it needs to go away in its current form. I also interviewed Mike Bithell, who is the creator of Thomas Was Alone, Volume, and Subspace Circular. Yeah, he was an incredible guest. Talked a lot about why he would put his games on a specific platform, because he has some exclusives to PlayStation or PC or Switch. So we talked about that. But yeah, check out the Xbox Expansion Pass. That'd be a joy. And you can find me on Twitter at InsipidGhost.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you so much to the 350 people being here. Also, once again, I want to thank you for the generosity. The super chats are just unbelievable, and they are very welcomed, and I'm very, truly, and honestly grateful. Of course, I'll keep everyone updated as to the situation with Mrs. Boomstick. I'm sure she's going to be fine, but we got to rectify this because the throwing up for her has not been good. So listen, everyone, have a great day. Be safe, be well, treat each other, and more importantly, good. Treat each other good. And I'll close out with two things that my dad taught me that I think are important more now than ever. Treat others how you want to be treated, and it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you soon.